It was a quick overnight journey from Haifa to Port Said, Egypt. Port Said is on the Mediterranean at the north end of the Suez Canal. The city was established in 1859 to support the construction of the canal and is now a gateway for freight coming in and out of Egypt. From here we will travel by bus to Cairo to see the pyramids. We travel in a 10-bus convoy with police escort to assure our safe journey. Some historic comments on Port Said. When the city was established, it had no local source of stone, wood, food, or water. These all had to be imported, but the importance of the location at the mouth of the canal and the presence of people from all over the world allowed Port Said to flourish as a global city. That remained so until the middle of the 20th century, when events such as the Suez Crisis and the Six-Day War caused most of the people from other nationalities and religions to leave. The Egyptian government is now making efforts to open the country again to foreign investment and tourists from around the world. Our bus caravan left the city and headed south across the fertile Nile Delta. I noted an abundance of mosques and minarets. Egypt is 90% Muslim, and while other religions are tolerated, clearly this is a strongly Islamic country. There was a lot of new construction, but I also noted many buildings with rebar sticking out of the top of the second floor walls. I first thought these buildings were still under construction, but later learned that buildings are often left this way because, as extended families and businesses grow and money is available, they will add an additional floor onto a home or building. No one seems to care about the unfinished look of the rebar. There was a lot of litter on the ground, and it seemed as though Egyptians don't care as much about litter as many other places in the world. I never saw anyone cleaning up the mess. Egyptians have their own version of the open two-passenger tuk-tuk cabs that are so common in Southeast Asia. We were never far from a canal and learned that agriculture in Egypt is totally dependent on the availability of water, and the only source of fresh water is the Nile River. This is especially clear in photos taken from outer space. Approaching Cairo, we pass through an area called New Cairo, which was created to relieve the crowding in Cairo. It includes more open space, but there's still difficulty getting people to move there. Cairo is on the Nile River and has a population of over 20 million. It is the fastest growing city in the world, adding 1/2 million people per year. One of its major problems is housing, yet there are over 400,000 vacant apartments in the city. This is because many recently built apartments were constructed by unscrupulous developers without regard to safety, zoning, or permitting, so they either sit incomplete or are being torn down. While we are still in the city, we get our first glimpse of the pyramids. We pass the Giza Museum, which is scheduled to open in 2019. At 5.2 million square feet, it will be the largest archaeological museum in the world, and is less than 2 miles from the pyramids. Arriving at the Giza Plateau, my first impression is how close the pyramids are to the city of Cairo. In most stock photos, the pyramids appear to be alone in the desert, but actually they are only 8 miles from the center of Cairo. The 3 Great Pyramids were built 4,500 years ago by the pharaohs Khufu, his son Khafre, and his grandson Menkaure. Their purpose was to preserve and protect the soul of the pharaoh while providing the supplies he would need to journey to the next world where he would lead the spirits of the dead. The Khufu Pyramid is the largest at 481 feet tall, while the Khafre and the Menkaure are progressively smaller. There are also several smaller Queen's Pyramids, and to the east is the Great Sphinx. The Great Pyramid weighs 6 million tons and consists of 2.3 million limestone blocks weighing up to 80 tons. It's believed to have taken a minimum of 20,000 workers 20 years, setting stones at a rate of 1 stone every 5 minutes. It's the oldest and only surviving structure from the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Originally, the 3 pyramids were covered in white polished limestone casement blocks. They brilliantly reflected the sun and were called Ikit, meaning glorious light. The reflection would have been visible from the moon. The sides of the 3 pyramids are aligned with the north-south and east-west compass headings. Inside they have passageways that lead to burial chambers and galleries. There are many tunnels in and around the pyramids. 5 people from our group went inside the Menkaure Pyramid. It took them 15 minutes to walk hunched over down a 4-foot-tall by 3-foot-wide tunnel in sweltering heat and poor air quality. When they reached the end, the room was empty. There were vendors everywhere, selling everything from camel, carriage, and horseback rides, to souvenirs, to having your photo taken with or on a camel. Didn't matter what they were selling, the price was always the same, $1. I noticed a Middle Eastern family walking up to the plateau. The children and husband were in Western clothes. The wife was stylishly dressed in a brightly colored outfit with head covering, and the grandmother was in conservative black and gold chador. It was an interesting contrast between personal taste, comfort, and what is dictated by culture and religion. A short distance to the east is the Great Sphinx of Giza. It is a statue with a man's head on the body of a lion. It was carved from a single piece of stone, and the face is believed to be that of Pharaoh Khafre. The nose was damaged in 1378 by a Sufi Muslim who didn't like that peasants were making offerings to it for a successful harvest. Our contribution was just to take a few silly photographs. After taking a last look around and a few photos to prove we were there, we boarded our bus for the trip back to the ship. Our next port of call is Sifaka, Egypt, which we will reach by passing through the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal has the appearance of a river that has been dug straight through the desert. It connects the Mediterranean Sea with the Gulf of Suez and the Red Sea, all of which have the same sea level. As a result, there are no locks, and the water can flow in either direction depending on the season. There are piles of dredged sand on the banks, but there are few people and no villages. Parts of the canal are only wide enough for 1 ship, so we're part of a 12-ship caravan. Efforts to build the 120-mile canal go back to Pharaoh Senusret in 1800 BC, with more recent investigations by the Ottomans in the 16th century and Napoleon in 1798. In 1854, the French diplomat Ferdinand de Lesseps received a commission to construct the canal from Egyptian leader Mohammed Said Pasha and accomplished the task in 10 years using up to 30,000 slave laborers. The canal has been the subject of political and military struggles over the last 150 years, including being shut down for 8 years after the Six-Day War. But now it is being effectively operated by the Egyptian authorities. In 2015, the Egyptian government commissioned an $8 billion project to build a 22-mile-long parallel second canal to allow traffic in both directions, thus reducing travel time and increasing ship volume. This project was completed in just 1 year. We saw quite a few fishermen in small boats on the canal. They seemed to have no concern about the movement of giant ocean vessels parading by. We saw 2 bridges that crossed the canal between the Sinai Peninsula and the rest of Egypt. One was a double turnstile bridge that looks like it is permanently left in the open position. The other was the Mubarak Peace Bridge, which is 2.4 miles long and was paid for by the Japanese as a gift to the Egyptians. It has a clearance above the water of 223 feet, which sets the air draft limit for ships to use the canal. I would also add that we were surprised that there was absolutely no vehicle traffic on this bridge. Being surrounded by ocean freighters gave me a better appreciation for how massive they really are. As we exit the canal, the freighters disperse, and we are soon alone heading for Sifaka. From there, we will travel by land to Luxor and the Valley of the Kings.